back to Endo Unfiltered. My name is Erica, and I am here sharing my journey living with endometriosis. My goal here is for us to connect, learn, and feel empowered. Endometriosis is a tough disease, and no one should have to face it alone. So, I'm 47 years old. I've been experiencing pain from endo related symptoms and issues since I was 13 years old, maybe even younger, due to like migraines and other symptoms that I didn't even realize were associated with endometriosis. So, for some reason in 2018, my symptoms became worse and worse. It just seemed like things were really progressing in a extremely uncomfortable way. Um, so with my job, I didn't have medical benefits offered. So at this point, I'm basically relying on the state for medical support. And I'm visiting doctors multiple times in a month, also many visits to the emergency room, and still zero answers. So one morning I wake up and I'm extremely bloated and in unbearable pain. I can't get out of bed, and of course, not too far away from my heating pad either. And I decide I have to call in sick again for the fifth day in a row. And at this point, like, I'm frustrated, angry, scared, and I have no more tears left. So the only thing that I could think to do was to continue researching and look for a medical professional in women's health and get an appointment immediately. Even though I knew that my insurance wouldn't cover it, I was ready to pay cash and to get some answers. So after a couple days, I located a physician in my area. I would have to pay cash. It was $200 for the consult, but I didn't care. I was excited, and I finally had hope that this doctor could help me. So I go to the appointment, and after my exam, the doctor looks at me and says that she believes it's endometriosis. And sadly, at this time, I had never heard of endometriosis. Not one woman in my family or in my friend group had ever mentioned having this disease or, you know, any information on it. So I was shocked and also really concerned. She immediately put me on a low dose birth control, which I thought was really weird because my tubes were tied. So I wasn't sure why I needed to be on birth control, which I would later find out why. Um, and then because of my family history, she also tested me for the BRCA gene. If you're not familiar, the BRCA gene test is to test your risk for cancers. Breast cancer, ovarian cancer, uterine cancer, cervical cancer. And so this had me even more scared. Because of my family history, she explained that if this test came back, regardless of an endometriosis diagnosis, if that BRCA gene test came back positive, I would be looking at a recommendation for a double mastectomy and total hysterectomy. So, although this visit was informative, I left there terrified. And I spent the holidays of 2018 waiting for the results of this blood test. And it was a really hard time in both me and my fiance's life. After what seemed like forever, I had my second appointment, and that's where we learned that the BRCA gene test was negative, thankfully. We discussed endometriosis diagnosis, which would have to be done surgically. And so we scheduled the surgery for February 8th, 2019. And I left there feeling like I had a deadline for my pain. Well, unfortunately, the only way to really diagnose endometriosis at this time is through surgery. And this is done through laparoscopic, which means laparoscopy, which means that they cut small incisions into your abdomen and put like tubes in there to kind of look through and examine your reproductive organs and the surrounding organs to see if they can locate endometriosis. And then during this time, the surgery that this physician would be doing is ablation. And ablation is basically, if endo is found, they would burn off those lesions. So my doctor discussed that with me. And then also, we were set to remove the fallopian tubes as well and perform a Luna procedure. The Luna procedure involves ligaments that support the uterus and have nerves that send pain signals. So basically, with the Luna procedure, it's also laparoscopic and it involves the severing or burning of those ligaments and those nerves within those ligaments. And this is so oftentimes this is done with women with endometriosis because it helps eliminate some of that pelvic pain. So this is a very common procedure done to hopefully eliminate pain with endometriosis. My surgery date is set for February 2019, and I am feeling so excited because, and I don't know if this will resonate with you, but after so many years of not having any answers and then finally having that surgery date set, I mean, I know it's surgery, but there's just something about the feeling that you're going to get your questions answered and be out of pain that it just motivates you to keep going. However, there was still so much that I was stressed about. Um, as you probably know, insurance it doesn't cover a lot of these procedures that we need, and health insurance is something that us with endo fight with on a daily basis. And so there was a part of me that knew that we would have to come up with the cash or to make payments to this clinic for the services that I so badly needed. And so my anxiety from that was heightened. During the months that we're waiting for my surgery date, my fiance at the time gets hired on to his dream fire department. And we're super excited. But then also, I discover that his health insurance will accept me and cover me as his domestic partner since we're engaged. And I call the insurance and they will cover my surgery. This was an amazing moment, and things were really starting to look positive. The day of surgery comes, and my husband is in the middle of the academy, so he's unable to come with me. Thankfully, I did have family along by my side. I go in, put to sleep, and wake up, and my doctor explains that I have endometriosis. So it was really nice to have the diagnosis. I'm sure a lot of you can relate to that. But honestly, I didn't know what to do with it. As I mentioned, I didn't have a lot of people in my life that knew much about endometriosis, that were even diagnosed with it or anything. It just seemed like there was no information for me. So I was a little nervous about what this looked like for me and how to proceed. On top of that, to add insult to injury, as I shared this information with people in my family and friends, it was really difficult to hear a lot of people say, at least you don't have cancer. Now, I don't blame anyone, but it is deeply diminishing to hear at least you don't have cancer after an endometriosis diagnosis, especially knowing that cancer often receives more research, more understanding, and more treatment options than endometriosis. So I'm in the process of recovering, and then approximately 2 months after surgery, my pain is back, full force, 10 times worse. It was like burning barbed wire, stabbing, excruciating pain. And so at this point, I'm more frustrated than ever. I start diving into research from my bed, of course. I start concentrating on my diet. I start implementing anti-inflammatory recipes, which I'll share, and just reading my surgery report and learning every medical term as if it was a new language. I joined Facebook support groups, Nancy's Nook, which I'm sure you've heard of, and other endo-related forums, some of which I'm still a part of. I learned from other people's experiences, the procedures they've had, the medications they were taking, and just realized that there's a group of endo sisters out there, warriors, that I had no idea were just like me. And I felt so much less alone. During my research and discovery, I learned that ablation surgery can be one of the worst treatments for endometriosis. It burns the lesion, leaving scars that endometriosis basically feeds off of scar tissue. So I was heartbroken and angry that I wasn't informed of other options for me. I discovered excision surgery. This is a procedure that removes the disease from the roots. So think of it like endometriosis is a weed, and instead of just burning the top off, you have to actually get the root out. So this was an important piece of information. The only thing is that there's several challenges with excision surgery. And one of those being is that there's a limited availability for specialists in this procedure. And also it's very costly. And a lot of insurances won't cover it. Here we are again at the beginning. So obviously, I wish I knew about excision surgery earlier. In a way, I know it sounds strange, but I'm kind of grateful for the experiences that I've had because it has led me to advocate for myself and for others, for me to share my experiences with other endo sisters, their families, and just the purpose of these videos is for that to happen, to educate, to support, and really empower families struggling with understanding this disease. If you've had similar experiences to mine or just starting your endometriosis journey, I really want you to know you're not alone. This disease is cruel, but I want you to know there is hope and you have a community of people who understand and want to be there for you. Thank you for being here and for listening to my story. If you'd like to share your comments below, let's keep the conversation going. And please remember, you're stronger than you think. Until next time, take care of yourself.